I'm going to ask you a very important question. Because tonight's about dealing with difficult people delightfully. But the first question we have to find out is, are you one of the people that needs to be dealt with, or are you going to be a dealer? You have to be really honest. Are you a person that needs to be dealt with? Can you be a difficult person to deal with? Or are you just going to learn to be a great dealer tonight? We've got some. So I'll delve a little deeper. Have you ever had an emotional argument with somebody where there's two people either yelling at each other or making noise, where both people are emotional? So the other person that you're having a conversation with is emotional, but more importantly, you are also emotional. Would that make you easy to deal with or difficult to deal with? Come on, say it. Difficult. If you are in an emotional state, are you making any sense? Meaning, are you being logical? Does that make you easy to deal with or difficult to deal with? Difficult. So is it possible in this room tonight there are some people that need to be dealt with? No. Who would like, though, to have the tools? And there's two parts to tonight, because I've tricked you a little bit. Because we've all said, I've got all these difficult people in my life and I'd love to know how to deal with them. Whether it's the guy from the supermarket or your mother or your best friend or your brother or whatever, I would like to learn how to deal with people that are difficult a little bit more delightfully. But there's two parts to tonight and I've tricked you. Because to be really good at dealing with difficult people delightfully, what kind of person will you need to be? Delightful is the word. I need to be a delightful person, yeah? And that takes a lot of things. So we're going to do a little bit of a revision tonight because you've all done the program. So, as usual, a lot of the things you hear, you're going to say this. You ready? I know that. Yeah? You're going to say that. I know that. What's that Latin for, Tommy? Because when you say, I already know that, what happens to your ability to learn anything else? Completely closes down, yeah? And then if you know it but you don't do it, what are you? Revision, what are you? Stupid or lazy. If you don't know it, you're just ignorant. That's okay, yeah? And tonight, some of the things I share with you, none of my stuff, just really cool things that have been given to me as a gift, and I want to give them to you. So a lot of the things you hear tonight, that you'll be ignorant to them, you'll learn them tonight, and you go, wow, that's a good tool, I'm going to use that. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. That just means we're ignorant, and now we're going to get some great stuff. But if you know it and you don't do it, that means you're stupid. Because you've got a great tool to use, but you don't use it, or you know that you've got the tool, but you don't use it because you can't be bothered. And sometimes when you're dealing with difficult people, that's exactly what happens. Oh, I can't be bothered with this. This person's just an idiot. I just can't be bothered. The challenge you've got there, and I'm opening up tonight with that, the challenge you've got there is that the way you deal with people, every person, every time, says more about you than the person that you're dealing with. You've got to get that straight away. The way you deal with every person every time says way more about you than it does about the other person. So it's never ever about the other person. Who's it always about? Just say me. It's always about me. Say it loudly. It's about me. Go. It's all about me. So if you want to be the best person possible, and as I said, this is going to be revision. So most of what we do for the next about 7.5 minutes is going to be you guys telling me the answers. Oh. If you want to be an extremely delightful person, which makes you valuable or not valuable to society, if you're a delightful person. If you're a guy like Mickey and every time you walk into the room everyone laughs, does that make you valuable or not valuable? Valuable or not valuable? Very valuable. if it's a really tough situation and everybody else is stressed but you're keeping cool, calm and collected, valuable, not valuable? Valuable. Very valuable. If it's a really stressful situation and you can find a solution rather than more problems, what kind of person are you? Valuable or very valuable, yeah? So what I want to look at is what's going to make you extremely valuable. Now, Abe, I have to use you as an example because this is just an absolute classic. How many of you right now, whether you're in business or not, if somebody said to you, right this minute, I want to train with you 5 days a week, how much is it going to be? Who would know straight away your package for 5 training sessions a week? Go. Who would know? Write that down. Somebody asked me, I want to train with you 5 times a week, you want to have your package ready, yeah? Is it possible that there will be people that want to train with you 5 times a week? Would that make you valuable or not valuable? Very valuable. What would make you so valuable that somebody will want to train with you 5 days a week? That means they want to spend most of their week with you. And let's just say they want to pay you $400 for that session. And don't knock your brain off, because some of you, I saw your body language right then, and some of you went, oh, as if anyone's going to pay me $400. I saw it in your body language straight away. Forget about that. What I want you to think about is if somebody could afford to pay you $400 for a training session, they wanted to do that 5 times a week, would that make you valuable or not valuable? Very valuable. So what are some of the things that are going to make you very valuable in that situation? It's got nothing to do with whether or not you can bench press. It's got nothing to do with whether or not you've got pretty towels, and it's got nothing to do with the state of the building. Nothing. I'm going to use Abe. Sorry, Dallum, but it was a brilliant conversation. We have to share it with the world. The gentleman downstairs, I think he's around about between 45 and 50, which is not very old, is it, Sal? No, it's not very old. He drives a motor car that's worth over $100,000. He just had a heart attack, or close enough to a heart attack. Between 45 and 50, and he's had a heart attack, a myocardial infarction. Doctor said you better take some time off, and him and his wife went to Fiji real quick because he was really under stress. So he's got a car that's worth over $100,000, and if you've ever seen that car, by the way, it's filthy dirty. Like, it's filthy, all the time dirty. I'm telling you this for a reason. It's really important. If the real estate agent downstairs could go to the shop and buy Abe's body, if he could buy it and just put his head in there and even keep his same face so people recognise him, but at 45 he could have Abe's body, how valuable would that be, do you think? How much would he be prepared to pay for that? Think about his car. How much did he pay for his car? Over $100,000, and it's dirty. Doesn't even look after it. How much do you think he would find, he would go to the bank manager to find how much money?
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
So when he looks at you, you fit, in shape, gorgeous people. See, you're all looking at people that have got money and nice cars and houses, and you're wanting what they've got, yes? Yeah. Guess what they want? They want what you've got. They want your positive attitude, they want your energy, they want your enthusiasm, but most importantly, they want your physical condition, yes or no? They want it so bad. And how much do you think they're prepared to pay for it? Heaps. Exactly right. How much do they pay for a carton of beer? How much do they pay for a packet of cigarettes? How much do they pay to pour petrol in their car? But you can give them, and you're not going to tell them to train 5 times a week, 27 exercises, 3 sets of 10. You're going to say, look, just pop in once a week. We'll get you fit, healthy and strong. Isn't that exciting? So tonight is not about how to become a great trainer. Because, by the way, will some of those wealthy people who can afford to pay $400 for a PT session, will some of those be a bit difficult, do you think, occasionally? Yeah. So if they're being a bit difficult, what do you need to be? Delightful. Absolutely delightful. So we're going to go to this very important circle which you've all seen before. And we call this the value circle. How do I become really valuable? Now, those of you that are going into work in somebody else's business, this originally came, I sat down with a guy called Andrew Simmons from Vision Personal Training a very long time ago, and I said, what are you looking for in franchise owners and personal trainers, who do you pay more money to? Write that question down. Who would I pay more money to? Because those of you that are business owners, soon you'll be employing people. And there'll be some people that you want to pay more money to, and there'll be some people that you won't want to pay any money to. You'll be looking at how to get them out of your business real quick. Once I had that conversation with Andrew, I then had it with every single business person I came in contact with from every business. It's one of the interesting questions that I ask people when I sit next to somebody on the plane. It doesn't matter. If it's a business person, one of the questions I always ask is, give me 5 things in your business that you would pay more money for in a team player. And guess what? They're all about the same. Sometimes the order's a little bit different, and that's why I put it in a circle, because when it's in a circle, there's no one that's more important than the other. Now, you all know this, but what I want you to do tonight is seriously ask yourself, how valuable am I? Not the people in my life, but how valuable am I when it comes to this value circle? First one, as you know, please write S with your bottom. Go. Go. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. That stands for self, and the first one is motivated. How self-motivated are you? Because if you're dealing with difficult people and you've got an attitude of, oh, I can't be bothered with this, is that motivated or unmotivated? Unmotivated. It's called lazy. What I'm going to ask you to do tonight is put yourself into every situation possible where you've got to test your motivation. Really easy, simple to get up out of bed in the morning when the sun's shining, the birds are singing, and it's a lovely crisp morning. The motivated people are the ones that get up when? When it's dark and when it's raining and when it's cold, and they still get up and nobody has to kick their ass out of bed to do it. It's called self-motivated. Now, in a business, the interesting thing is if you have to come into a business, put a bike pump in somebody's bottom and pump them up in the morning, come on, you can do it. You're a really good trainer. You'll be brilliant. You're amazing. Which is the most valuable person, the one doing the pumping or the one being pumped? Do you know how time wasting and how annoying it is to have someone put a bike pump in your bottom and pump you up? In an organisation, it makes you the least valuable person, because not only does somebody have to pump you up, but where is their energy now going instead of where it should be? I'm going to say it, it's going up your ass. It shouldn't be, should it? That you've got things to do, they've got things to do, and if they're helping you do your things, what are they not doing? Their things. So self-motivated is the first one. Next one, educated. That's why I get so excited when it's a fun day evening and there's a room full of people all dressed up. Because it would be really easy to go to a Christmas party tonight. It'd be really easy to go to the movies, really easy to drink alcohol, really easy to do a whole heap of other stuff. But where are you guys tonight? Getting some stuff. No one's paying you to be here. In any organisation, if your company's got to pay you to get educated, are you valuable or not valuable? Well, they've got to invest money in your education, which is, all companies have got to do that. They have to. But who gets paid more money? The people that educate themselves or the ones that have got to go and get training? Self-educated. So what I want you to ask yourself tonight, this is a really important question. What am I doing on a regular basis to self-educate myself? See, some of you are here because you've got one of these. And it says you've got to come to 3 executive clubs and 3 trainers clubs. Got to tick the box. But that's not why Executive Club and Trainers Club exists. The reason we put it into the book was we found that people that had attended 3+ trainers clubs and 3+ executive clubs while they were in the program ended up doing much better in their final PT evaluation. They were just better trainers. So we made it compulsory to attend these. But that's not why we ever created it in the first place. We created it for people who finished their program to keep coming back, to hearing from great people, and that's why we have trainers and executive club. I said to Kerry today, this is not, you don't have to pay to come here. This is not a club where there's a membership or joining fee or anything like that. It's an ongoing thing that we do, and if the bank manager has a look at this or the accountant has a look at this, what do they think they're going to say? What's this thing that costs you this much to run every month and you make absolutely no money out of it? But see, we're committed to self-education, because who's going to learn more tonight, you or me? Me. I'm going to learn much more than you, because you guys have all got... How many of you learnt so much from just Dewey's little tiny 10 minutes? We all learn from each other, and that's a beautiful thing about hanging out with the right group of people. The next one is what? Big D word. See, tonight I'm going to teach you some really cool things. Not my stuff, just things that have been taught to me that I've used and have worked really well for me. But when you've got two people emotional having a fight, nothing's happening, by the way. Nothing is being achieved. You do understand that, don't you? Two people yelling at each other, nothing's happening. First of all, nobody's listening, because if we're screaming, so nothing's going on. One of those people has to be disciplined enough to pull themselves out of first place. Me, I want to talk louder than you. One person has to pull themselves out of that, be disciplined enough to do that, and say, this is getting us absolutely nowhere, we have to change what we're doing. That requires the ultimate self-discipline. Because tonight when we're sitting here having a chat with a happy, fun group of people and we're talking about this logically, this is easy, yeah? But when you're next in a situation where you've got two people, one of them's you yelling, you will have to be the person that's got the self-discipline. Last night was really funny, because in our Christchurch College, we've got Chris and Ali, who's our senior coach, and Ali's the college coach. They live in the same house. And they're sitting there together learning this stuff. And I said, it's nice that you're learning this now, because they were nodding their head and smiling. I said, but where this is going to become really interesting is the next time you guys have an argument, because people have arguments, don't they? And Chris is going to say something like, yes, sweetheart, I don't understand, but I want to, because I love you and you're very important to me. And she's going to say, shut up and stop throwing that Rowie stuff at me. Yes or no? Because when you're emotional, the discipline goes out the door. So self-discipline, I'm going to ask you tonight to give yourself a rating. And if you give yourself a low rating on self-discipline, what do you need to do with it? It's easy. Can you become more disciplined than you are now? You know, some people say, oh, I was born without the discipline gene. Rubbish. That's just not true. So what's the first one? Self-motivated, self-educated and self-disciplined, yep? That's number one in the value circle. Number two, you know already, big happy smiley face. Just give your little cheeks a little slap. Slap them just so they sting just a little bit. And you've got to have your face in the upward position that way. That's it. So smile and slap your cheeks. And you've got to sting just a little bit just to remind you what that means, because when you are in a discussion, we call it a robust discussion with two people yelling at each other, you're going to be thinking to yourself, I should be disciplined right now, I really should be disciplined right now, but God, I want to yell. If you give your cheek a little slap, because you say to yourself, I want to add value to this person's life, not take away from it, that little sting will remind you what that means. And what that means in the value circle is your ability to get on with who? The people that get paid the big bucks in the corporate world are not the nasty gossipers who criticise, pull people down and talk at the water cooler about other people. They're not the people that make the big money. Oh, let's promote her, she's the biggest gossip in the company. Is that what happens? The people who make the big dollars in the corporate world are the ones who have the ability to match and mirror all personality styles. Next, Max News is a young guy called Tiago, and when you see him, you're going to go, oh, that's a pretty looking guy, and he's got a little graduation suit on, and I wonder who he is. So I'm going to tell you who he is. It's a Brazilian guy that came through our program in Brisbane. He's just gone through the Steiner training program in London, and they've put him on the biggest cruise ship in the world. It's called Oasis of the Seas. It's got 10,000 people on it. That's his first job. How cool is that? How's that sound, Rachel? 10,000 people. The lady who runs recruitment for Steiner, Kerry Campbell, emailed me and she said, please send me 150 more Tiagos. He's the best we've ever had. So, of course, what's my next question? Why? What do I need to do? What makes him so good? She said his ability to get on with everyone. When you're on a cruise ship with 10,000 people, can you be racist? Can you be a sexist? I don't like women. No. Can you... I don't like kids. You have to get on with everybody. So give yourself a rating. Your ability to communicate with, ask questions of, and get on with all kinds of people. If you have that ability, by the way, will you ever get into silly yelling, screaming matches with people? Just say no. Because you'll be so well educated, so self-motivated and so self-disciplined that you'll be thinking to yourself, what am I doing? So the first one is, the second one is, smile. The third one is, how many ers? Just turn to the person next to you and say, go. How's it go? Please write down both words. It's your ability to take responsibility for your results. But for my sporting team people in this room, sporting team people, it's really easy to take responsibility for your own results, for your results, yeah? So let's say my name's Cristiano Ronaldo. Gets paid some big bucks to play football, yes, Mickey?
Yes.
Do they pay him the big bucks to play good soccer?
Football.
Sorry, football. So that he becomes the best footballer in the world. So they can say, we've got the best footballer in the world, he kicks the best, he passes the best, he's the best football player in the world. Is that why they pay him the big bucks? I'll rephrase the question. Where's he playing now? Spain? Yeah, he goes off to Spain to play footy for a few bucks. And Spain comes last this year, next year, the year after, the year after, the year after, and Cristiano's playing on that team. How long do you think they'll keep paying him the big bucks for Spain to lose? Not long. But he might say, I still deserve the big dollars. I kick the ball really well. I pass the ball really well. I'm a really good soccer player. What's he also responsible for? Him being a great soccer player, but what else? See, the people they pay the big bucks to are the people that take responsibility for all the results. Not just your own personal results. It's really easy to say, I'm the best personal trainer on this team. But what do you now need to be? You need to be the leader of that team so that everybody else becomes as good or better than you. And I'll just tell you the really quick one, and I think I've shared this story before, but sometimes it's good to hear another story. I read a book called Leadership. It'll come to me in a second. The name of the guy is John C. Maxwell. Nathan, I know that you like to write books down. It's really one to get a hold of. The Leadership Circle, I think it's called, but I'll remember it. Anyway, what happened was, and I want you to write this word down and then cross it out. So write this word, EGO, and then get your pen and do this. So John Maxwell is, he writes a book about leadership, but he's a leader of a church. And there were a lot of sceptical business people who didn't take that book seriously because he wasn't the leader of a business, he was the leader of a church. And it was interesting because the people who supported him made this very interesting comment. In business, people do things for what? Money. If you've got people who are power hungry in a church, then what are they doing it for? They're not doing it for the money because there's no money being passed around here. This is all volunteers' position. So if you're a really good leader in a church, it's a lot harder than in business because you're dealing with people that aren't doing it for the money, so you never really know what their motivation is. Anyway, so he writes this book on leadership, and really interesting part of the book, he was given a really tiny little church, and please don't quote me on the numbers, but maybe there was 100 people in the church or 200 people, something like that. And he built this church up to 10,000 members. That's a pretty big church. So he felt pretty good. Because he was so good at what he did, the big people who run the church said, we'd like to send you to another little church so you can build it up. because you're really good at what you do. So leave that church, the big $10,000 people membership church, and we're going to send you to another one. Within 6 to 12 months, and again, please don't quote me on the numbers, the big church had become a much littler church. Now, it wasn't back to 100 people, but it reduced in size by about half. His comment was really interesting. He said initially when he first heard that, how do you think he felt? I think he felt good. Because when I was there was 10,000 members. It was a great big church. And now that I'm not there, it hasn't got as many members. I must be really good at what I do. But when you take this out and you have a look at this, really good leaders teach other people to be really good leaders so that when they leave, what happens to the organisation? It keeps growing. So don't kid yourself. If you leave a business or you leave a team and that team goes down the drain, you say, oh, well, it must have been me that made them so good. No, no, no. You were playing your game well, but what you weren't doing was inspiring other people to be as good as you are. When you have an argument with somebody, two people yelling at each other, who's got to take responsibility for the results of the outcome of that argument? Because the next part of the circle, the number 4, we'll quickly do the words. What's the first one? Self-motivated, self-educated, self-disciplined. Smile, get on with everybody, smile, get on with everybody, smile, get on with everybody. Arr! Take full responsibility for your results and all the results, yeah? To make that happen, you have to do number 4, which is yum, 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 yum. What is it? Yum, 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 yum. Please write this down. All feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. How's it go? All feedback, all feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. Now, I know that you know that already, but if somebody picks up some feedback, covers it in cow poo and throws it at you, is that nice? Yes. Say yes. Say yes, Rowie. I'm really looking forward to the first time that happens to me. Because what did they have to do first? Themselves. They had to get poo on their own hand to be able to throw it at you first. So, you're in an argument with somebody. Who's got to take full responsibility for the outcome of the results of that particular argument? You do. Just say, I do. I do. Because what I'm doing is becoming more valuable because I'm learning how to handle feedback. All feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. How's it go? All feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. Now, there's 2 parts to feedback, though, and you have to get this. It's really important. The first part of feedback is how you receive it. And there's 3 things you can't do when you receive feedback. 3 things. How many? 3. First one is, and I've got that finger up for a reason because you'll remember it. The first thing you can't do when you get feedback is sook. How's it go? So, Mickey, you smell. Oh, no, I don't. And he cries. What would you think of Mickey if he burst into tears and when you told him that he had BO? What would you think of him as a person? Would you have more respect or less respect? Sooking doesn't work. That means you're emotional. And when you're emotional versus logical, who's more valuable? Emotional, logical? Logical. The next thing you can't do, there's 3 things you can't do when you receive feedback. The first one is you can't. The next one is you can't blame. It's not my fault, it was her. Not my fault, he did it. It's not my fault. I come from a bad background. Could Stewie use that as a blame for not being successful? It's not my fault. I nearly died. It's not my fault. My wife slept with my brother. I'm allowed to be a prick. Look what happened to me. Yes or no? Have you heard that before? And he's so not that person. See, it's easy to lay blame, but you know what? Plenty of people have worse things happen to them than you have, and they've become better, stronger, happier, more positive people. You can't lay blame. The next thing you can't do is justify. Well, the reason why I'm like this is because. The reason this happened is because. So what are the 3 things you can't do when you get feedback? You can't sook, you can't blame, and you can't justify. That's receiving feedback. If you do that, and I'll ask you this question. Giving feedback to somebody is easy or hard? It's pretty hard for most people. If Mickey smells, who wants to go and tell him? Notice 3 blokes put their hand up. It's tough. I'll reverse the question. Guys, if I smell, how many of you were really comfortable to come and tell me that I smell? No, bad. Stink. I'll rephrase the question. Stink. Now, we have done this before, but there's a couple of guys who haven't experienced this. Is really important. I want you to please pay attention. Ladies, if you've put on weight, do you know? You're not a lady, so don't answer the question. Females in the room, when you've put on weight, do you know that you've put on weight? Yes or no? Yes. If you've lost weight, do you know? Guys, did you hear that? Yes. So, next time your female friend, partner, girlfriend, mother says to you, do you think I've put on any weight? They already know the answer, so what are you going to say if they have? Yes, you're fat. Just say, yes, you're fat. You have. You've put on weight. And if the person cries, what are you going to say? What are you crying for? Now, I'm not asking you to be harsh. Please don't get me wrong. But the challenge you've got here is the reason you don't tell your girlfriend, female partner, mum, etc., that she's fat. What happens if you would tell her she was fat? She would sulk, she would justify, she would blame, or she'd never sleep with you ever again. And that's exactly what happens in any situation when you give feedback and the person sulks, justifies, or blames. Do you ever want to give them feedback again? Never. Who suffers the most in that situation? I'll give you another really great example. K-Man's name badge, we joke about this. We've discussed calling him Caring Kerry. Look at Mickey's face when I said that. And that is a general response in our organisation when I say, let's put Caring Kerry on his name badge. Because he doesn't have a reputation of being a really caring guy, but some of you in this room will understand exactly how caring he is. Because with some of you in this room, he's taken the time to give you some really strong, harsh feedback, yes or no? Yes. If he didn't care about you, would he waste his time? The only reason that he's ever wasted his time giving you feedback, because it's not a waste of time, it's because he's wanted to help you. That's called feedback. Now, what if he said, oh, I can't give feedback to Mickey because Mickey will cry? Or let's say he gave Mickey some feedback and Mickey did cry. Would he ever give Mickey feedback again? If he said to Mickey, you stink, and Mickey said, oh, well, you know, the reason I stink is because my mum didn't buy me some deodorant and send it over from England. I've run out and that's why I smell.
I'm for shower gels.
So he's got an answer for everything. I'm asking you to give yourself a rating on your ability to receive feedback based on whether you sulk, you justify, or you blame. Now, an interesting example came up last night when somebody said, well, what if somebody gives you stupid feedback? So let me use an example. Stewie, why are you wearing that silly green tie? Oh. What did you do straight away? It's not green, it's pink. See, that's silly feedback, isn't it? Because he's not even wearing a green tie. But if you really wanted to get good at handling feedback, here's what you're going to say. Thank you for the feedback. What is it about green ties that you don't like? Would you get more information then than, sorry Stu, I'm putting you on the spot here, then it's not green, it's pink. Yes or no? There is no stupid feedback, none. Because even if somebody says to you something really silly, you now have the opportunity to practice your ability at receiving feedback. Remember I said at the beginning, all feedback is a special gift, regardless of how it's wrapped. Even if it's wrapped in stupidity. even if it's wrapped in colour blindness, even if it's wrapped in emotion, even if it's wrapped in cow poo, all feedback is a special gift, because when you get feedback, even if it's silly, you have the opportunity to practice your receiving skills. So what are you going to say? Thank you for the feedback. How's it go? Big happy smiley face. Thank you for the feedback. Could you be more specific? I'm just giving you a quick system here. Write it down. Well, then we can move on from this one. Thank you for the feedback. Could you please be more specific? And the reason you have to add that in is because sometimes the feedback comes like this. Who won't get offended?
Me.
Okay, man, you're an idiot. Did you get that?
What is it?
You're probably right. I'd add that in. It comes out of a textbook called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Somebody says something to you that you don't agree with. If you tell them that you don't agree with them, will it change their mind? No. Yes or no? Just say no. And this is a great quote. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Now, it's a very sexist quote, so we'll say a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You can show somebody how wrong they are, but will it change their mind? Probably not. Because when somebody's emotional, they're not interested in logic. And if you give them logic, now they just get angry. So when somebody says something to you, even if it's completely wrong and silly, what are you going to say? You're probably right. Thank you for the feedback. So here comes the silliness. You say, thank you for the feedback. You're probably right. Could you please be a bit more specific? I don't want to be an idiot around you. So please give me some solutions to my idiotness so I don't do it when you're here. Some of you are looking at me to say, I could never say that. Don't knock it till you've tried it. Because I promise you there will be a situation in your life, or you've probably had one already. How about this? You've had a situation like this, you've walked away from it and you said, oh, I wish I didn't say what I said. I wish I didn't react the way I reacted. Or worse, you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you say to yourself, I should have said this. It's gone now. That's why you've got to practice. You've got to practice with each other, practice on a regular basis. You're an idiot. You're probably right. Thank you so much for the feedback. Could you be a little bit more specific so that when I'm around you, I don't act like an idiot? Isn't that great information? Because all feedback is what? A special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. Now, remember, there's 2 parts to feedback. The first bit is receiving it. The next bit's giving it. In an organisation, who's more valuable? The people who need feedback or the people who are really good at giving feedback? People who are good at giving it. Now, this is a really tough one because for most people, feedback is not easy, but your ability to give feedback is determined simply by your ability to receive it. If you're not good at receiving feedback, guess what? You won't be good at giving it. From the top, just because we need to move around a little bit, in your chair, please use your whole body to write self-motivated, self-educated, self-disciplined. Woo! And jog on the spot at the same time with little feet. Go. Woo! I get on with everybody. I get on with everybody. Can't hear you. I get on with everybody. I get on with everybody. I get on with everybody. And I take full responsibility for all my results. Go. Arrgh. Do that bit first. Arrgh. I take full responsibility for my results. Arrgh. I take full responsibility for my results. Arrgh. I take full responsibility for all my results. Feedback, feedback, yummy, 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 yummy. I love feedback, yummy, 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 yummy. How's it go? I love feedback, yummy, 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 yummy. I love feedback, yummy, 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 yummy. I love feedback, yummy, 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 yummy. 2 parts to feedback. Receiving it. 3 things you don't do when you receive feedback. Sook, blame, justify. How's it go? Sook, blame, justify. Go again. Sook, blame, justify. Again. Sook, blame, justify. How much feedback will you receive if you sook, blame or justify? No. Will you grow? No. Giving feedback is determined by your ability to receive it. That's why we had to talk about it first. If you're not good at receiving it, because you sook, blame or justify, when you go to give it to somebody else, what do you think that they're going to do when you give it to them? They're going to sook, blame or justify. And can you be bothered? Because you know that you emotionally react to feedback. So you think that they will too. So you go, I can't be bothered. In any organisation, in any team, someone becomes the captain of a team, any sporting team, because of their ability to give feedback. If you can't tell a player why he shouldn't have dropped the ball and how he could pick it up and throw it better, will you be a great captain of a team? And you'll certainly never become a coach. You have to be able to give straight down the line honest feedback. Now, I'm not asking you to be harsh, but I am asking you to be tough, fair, and an unreasonable friend. What is the difference between an unreasonable friend and a reasonable friend?
A reasonable friend will propel you forward, and a reasonable friend won't.
Say that again?
An unreasonable friend will give you great feedback so you go forward, and a reasonable friend will pat you on the arse and you just stay where you are.
When you sook, blame and justify, what will a sympathetic friend do? You poor thing. Of course you've got to be fat. You've got no time to exercise. Of course you've got to be fat. You've had 3 children. How could you possibly be thin after 3 children? Of course you're going to be fat. You've got no time to exercise. That's what sympathetic friends do, yes? What does a reasonable friend do when you say, does this dress make me look fat? Yes. Yes, take it off. You look disgusting. Now, I'm not asking you, this is a really tough call here, because we're talking about how to deal with difficult people delightfully, and that doesn't sound very delightful, does it? But a delightful person gets an outcome, and I'm asking you to be an action-oriented outcome person, not a warm, fuzzy, make someone feel good at that particular time. And you know, you've got clients right now who you need to say to them, when they say, oh, I don't know why I'm fat, you need to say what? Bullshit. You know exactly why you're fat, and if you don't change what you're doing, you're going to stay fat. And they might not like you that minute because they're doing what? Sulking, justifying, blaming. But see, now what happens, if you then don't continue to give them feedback, will they ever change? And that's where you've got to make a decision. So give yourself a rating on how you receive feedback, which, by the way, will then give you a rating on how well you give it. Because if you're not good at receiving it, you don't get good at giving it. Which is why when somebody gives you silly feedback, Stewie, why are you wearing that silly green tie? Thank you for the feedback. What is it about green ties that you don't like? Well, I think I've got a funny eye. You're not really wearing a green tie, are you? It's pink. Sorry. We'll get to that, because that is what happens, by the way. And the last one, please rub your fingers together like you are extremely wealthy. Go. Number 5 is your ability to leave a profit. I know that you guys know all this already. Our definition of of leaving a profit is every place and every person is better because you were there. I've got a small challenge though with that word better. Kmart and I have a very beautiful investment property on the Gold Coast, and we've rented it out many times to Max team players. And the last time we had to go and somebody left living there, and we had to go and clean it up because I was putting my mother in there. My own mother was going to go and live there. So we had to go, and I thought, because it was a Max team player, I thought that we would go in and put her furniture in there and that would be it. Ooh. We had to paint it. We had to change all the light fittings. We had to literally pull the whole place apart. Every cupboard, everything. It was absolutely disgusting. When I chatted to the person about the condition of the place, the justification, so no, I don't give that person feedback anymore. The justification was that they left it better than they found it. Because the last changeover between Max team players was a guy had it and then a girl took it over. So when she took it over, she said it was absolutely disgusting. So when she left it, it was better than she found it. Is that really leaving a profit? It's a good example, isn't it? See, I'm asking you to leave people feeling special, important and worthwhile after you've spent some time with them. I'm asking you to change their lives after they've spent some time with you, not just get them a bit warm and fuzzy for a couple of minutes. When you go into a room, it's easy to tuck one chair in because now you've left the room better haven't you, than when you found it. But ultimately, if you're going to take proper responsibility for the room, how would the room look after you've been there? The whole room would look, and that's where this whole thing wraps up. Leaving a profit means that every person you touch and everywhere you go couldn't be better after you've been there. Does that make sense? Now, I'm going to get down to the real nitty-gritty now, and then we're going to go into some real cool stuff on how to deal with difficult people. There's going to come a time in your life, if it hasn't already, where you will make a decision to do who you are for a career. Some of you have done it already. Where you came to that time in your life where you said, no longer will I have a job. Who I am and what I do are going to become exactly the same thing. Fitness professional and Rowie are exactly the same thing. And I'll give you a really harsh example. If somebody held a gun to my head and said, you can't be a fitness professional anymore, you need to go and become a landscape gardener or a checkout supermarket person or a real estate agent or whatever, or I'm going to shoot you, I'd rather die. Because when who you are and what you do is the same thing and you stop doing who you are, what happens to your life? It's not worth living anymore, is it? You may as well be dead. So there will come a time in your life where you know exactly what it is that you want to do. Now, some people, they go their whole lives, and even though deep down they know exactly what they want. They want to be a spaceship driver their whole life. But somebody told them they couldn't do it, yeah? Somebody told them they weren't smart enough, they came from the wrong country, whatever, so they gave up on their dream. But deep down inside, if I asked you a question tonight, if there was no education limits, there was no money limits, there was no time limits, what would you do as a career? Deep down inside, you'll know that you should be playing football for Sunderland. Is that right? I'm being harsh. Deep down in here, in your heart. Not here, logic. Now I'm talking in your heart. This is called passion. So when you know what that is, would you ever give up on it? When you finally find what it is that you are, who you are, and now it becomes your career, it becomes your business, it becomes the legacy that you leave on the world, would you ever give up on it? So this here becomes two parts. It's leaving a profit and never giving up. You've got to leave a profit and never give up. Say it again, you've got to leave a profit, never give up, leave a profit, never give up. And the reason why these two parts are so important is that for some of you, you're in the position right now, and I had a lady last night in Christchurch in this exact position where she needs to leave her job. She no longer needs to be doing her job. She needs to be an international fitness professional. She's so incredibly passionate about it. But she's got to leave her job. Now, would this be leaving a profit? Oh, Rowie, I want to come play at Maxwell. I'm just going to quit my job today, leave them in the lurch and come play with you guys. For me, that's a big bow. I can't come play here. Is that leaving a profit? Because the definition of leaving a profit is you leave everywhere you've ever been is best because you were there. I don't care if you go and play, and I said this to a girl last night, if you go and play at Vision and you're only there for a week, because you find out after a week that this is not the place for you to be. And you'll find out real quick. What I want you to do is find out real quick. But when I call Andrew and say, how did this girl go, I want him to say, she's the best trainer we've ever had for a week. She was amazing. She was on time, she was dressed well, she was happy, she was positive, she was professional. We're really sorry that we couldn't keep her here. Not she was an absolute arse and we're really glad to see the back end of her. See, Tiago might do one contract on cruise ships. He might just do a 3-month contract and he might hate it. It's happened. But I want Kerry to call me and say, we're really sorry to have lost Tiago. He's the best fitness professional we've ever had on a cruise. That's called leaving a profit. When you find out what it is that you absolutely love to do, now you never give up on it. Never, ever. Doesn't matter what the weather is. Doesn't matter the people in your family that tell you can't do it. Doesn't matter how many times you lose your own self-belief. You would never give up on it. Everybody stand up. Please write wow with your bottom in your most sexy, amazing, fantastic, energetic way so the people out there want to come and play with us in here. Go. Now, we're going to have a little training session with that one. We're going to do 2 fast ones for the boys because they like to do it more often and faster. Go, ready, set, go. Go. And now we're going to do 1 slow one for the girls because we prefer it much, much slower. Slower. How's it go? Slower. Ready? My speed. Nobody can go any faster than the speed that I'm going. Ready? Some of the guys are giving up already. They're going, oh, it's too slow. Quick question, who would be going this slow if I didn't ask you to go this slow? Can't hear you. Oh, that was good, wasn't it? I want what you're having. That was delightful, wasn't it? See, we've got a room full of delightful people. There's a lesson to what we've just done. The way you like it isn't necessarily the way everybody else likes it. Do you get that? Just because you like it a certain way doesn't mean that that's the way everybody else likes it. So you've got to do what to find out? Ask and listen, ask and listen. All right, have a seat. How am I going for time? Awesome. So on our value circle, we're now going to relate this to getting on well with difficult people and how to deal with them delightfully. So, what's the first one? When you go into any conversation with any person, should you be the most self-motivated person in that conversation to have a great outcome? You have to be the person that wants to get the great outcome. Doesn't matter what they're doing, you have to be the one that gets a great outcome. It's called a win-win or no deal. How's it go? Win-win or no deal. We will not leave this conversation until both of us are really happy. Have you got that? We're not leaving here until both of us are really happy. Now, the first part of this we're going to deal with is your personal relationships because that's really emotional, yeah? If you sit down, we'll go a step backwards. How many of you know when there's a fight brewing? One of 2 things. And ladies, you have to be prepared for this because this is the logical thing to do. If a guy's not ready to have that conversation right now, he will say to you, this is not the right time. If you push him into that situation and you force him to now have that conversation, you will now have an emotional, angry man. Because men don't have sooky emotions, they have angry emotions. Will you be able to have a logical conversation with a really angry man? So if a man says to you, this is not the right time for us to have this conversation, what do you need to say? Okay. But that's a really good overall, when you can feel a fight brewing and you're not ready for any kind of confrontation, you need to put yourself into the mind frame. It's called third place. Take yourself out of the emotion and put yourself into a logical place. So you need to be able to say, how's it go? It's not the right time right now. Now, what I don't need you to say, and I'm not giving you my stuff, I'm just giving you some really great advice from great people that have given me some good stuff. It's not, we can do this in 5 minutes. Because if I say to K-Man, I'm just going to pop into the shops for 5 minutes, how long is that? Who knows? But if I say I'm just going into the supermarket for 7.5 minutes, makes more sense, doesn't it? So if you're not ready for this discussion, if you're not ready to deal with this particular situation right now, you need to say this is not the right time for me right now, but at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, or in 23 hours, or in 7.5 minutes, or in 17 minutes, but put a specific time frame on it, yeah? What it does also in your mind is it forces your brain to bring that time forward to provide you with some logical solutions. Because what's about to happen here, when 2 people are about to have a fight, is not logical. So somebody has to be self-educated, which is what we're doing now, and self-disciplined enough to pull out of a emotional situation. Because when 2 people are yelling at each other, is that logical? Will you get a win-win, no deal, or no deal? The answer is no. It'll never happen. So one of you, and who has to do that? because you're the person that's done the education. So you have to do that. You have to say, this is not the right time for me right now. 7.5 minutes time, just give me some time to pull myself together. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's say that you skipped that bit. Let's say you didn't use your self-discipline yet because you're a little bit emotional. Let's just say you just found your wife in bed with your brother. What do you want to do right now? Someone's going to die. And it's not going to be me. Yeah, this is, again, cannot be a logical situation. So what's the only thing you can do at that time? If you're really going to be self-disciplined, what's the only thing you can do? You have to pull yourself out of there. So if you've got two people now going for an argument because you weren't disciplined enough to go in there and say, I need some time out. So you go into an argument and you've got two people arguing. I know you guys have done this before, but my question now would be, have you practiced this? Got two people yelling at each other. The only reason that two people are yelling at each other is the ultimate comment that comes out of every argument, that sometime during the conversation this will happen. You just don't understand. Yes or no? Because if one person was understanding the other person, would we be yelling at each other? The answer is no. So what we've got is a misunderstanding. So now comes your self-discipline. You ready? Because what's step number 2? Your ability to get on with everybody. If you're about to yell at somebody, are you getting on with everybody? No. So you give your little face a slap to remind you of what you're doing here. Getting on with everybody. You're both yelling at each other, and this is really interesting. You can physically do this because the other person's yelling, so they're not listening to what you're saying anyway. You can physically say this out loud if you want to. You say to yourself, or out loud, I have to stop this. No, I don't understand. What's happened to my voice? No, I don't understand. What's happened to the tone of my voice? No, I don't understand. Because two people yelling, when one person stops yelling, there's a distinct change in temperature. You can feel it straight away. So, no, I don't understand, but I want to because I love you. We're talking about a personal relationship here, yeah? I don't understand, but I want to because I love you. Talk to me. Tell me how you're feeling. I've just given you the most golden tool of any personal relationship. How's it go? No, I don't understand, but I want to because I love you. So talk to me. When you think the person has finished talking, there's going to be 3 more times that you say this. Is there anything else? Now, this is why we had to do the value circle first, because how much self-discipline does that take? Because if somebody's yelling at you, because they may not stop yelling yet, because you've now given them free rein to yell, because you've said, I don't understand, talk to me, tell me what's going on. Now, well, I will tell you. Yes or no? Because you've said, I'm listening, because you've got to now lean forward, maintain eye contact, open body language. Open your arms up, Chanel. Just practicing. You've now got to open all of that up. So you are very likely now to get a barrage of even abuse sometimes because this person's hurting. So people that are hurting, what do they want to do to you? They want you to hurt too because they're in pain. So if you say, I want to understand, talk to me, it's very likely that they'll start yelling loud and hands on their hips and the whole bit. And you're going to, because how self-disciplined are you? Very. You're going to, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? And even if it's stupid information like, I hate your stupid green ties, I hate them. This won't be the time to say thank you for the feedback. You're just going to say, is there anything else? Is there anything else? When there's no more anything else's, if you are in a relationship with somebody that's worth keeping the relationship, and I'm going to say that again, if you are in a relationship with a person that the relationship is worth keeping, guess what will now happen? Thank you so much for listening. Now I'd like to understand where you're coming from, and guess what you will now have the opportunity to do quietly. Quietly. Stewie, quietly. And I'm going to use Stewie as an example because until I met you, I had used that example. I'd used best friend and partner as an example, and then you shared with everybody tonight what's happened to you. If you were to find that, if that happened to you, if you were to find your wife was having a relationship with your brother or your best friend, is that a good thing that's happened or a bad thing?
It's bad.
It's a really good thing that happened. Because is that really your best friend? Do you really want to have a relationship with somebody that would sleep with your best friend? No. You've now found out exactly what kind of person you're dealing with, which is it's a really good thing. Logically. Not emotionally. Emotionally you want to kill someone. But logically you've just found out a really good thing. How much self-discipline does that take? Lots. So in a personal relationship, the simple system goes like this. No, I don't understand. But I want to because I love you. Talk to me. How's it go? Talk to me. Open body language, lean forward, maintain eye contact. The very first time that feedback came back to me on how well this had worked for somebody was a business associate of mine had a teenage daughter. I'm going to say she was about 45, this lady, and she had a teenage daughter, and they used to yell at each other all the time. She said it was just ridiculous. And she said most of the time I felt really silly because I hears me yelling at a teenage girl. So she practiced it. So the next time they were in an argument, the girl, she said she didn't do the first bit. She said I wasn't capable. I can't talk to you right now. They just went at it. And she said halfway through the conversation, she said, sweetie, I don't understand. I'm the mum. And you're the teenage daughter. I've got no understanding of what you're going through, but I really want to understand. Please explain. Talk to me. Tell me how you're feeling. She said the whole conversation completely changed. They ended up on the floor, both of them crying, giving each other a really big hug. Is that a good win-win outcome? Little Sanya, who plays on our team in Australia, the reverse situation. And just before I tell you this story, there will come a time in your life where you become the parent and your parent becomes the child. And some of you have gone through that already. Now, it may not be until the parent becomes, like my father, he ended up with Alzheimer's and he died of dementia. But he was back to being a child then. But there will come a time in your life where you become the parent and your parent becomes the child. It's a really interesting situation. Well, little Sanya, who's only just turned 16, she came through this when I did this in November in Australia. And she fights with her mum all the time. She comes from an Eastern European bloc family. And she said she did this with her mother. Her mother was screaming. And she said, Mum, I don't understand. I'm the daughter and you're the mum. But I love you and I want to understand, so could you please talk to me? She said 2.5 hours later they were sitting outside the toilet in the hallway and her mother was still talking. That's a lot of self-discipline involved there. But does that add value to a relationship? Will that make a difference when you think about all the times you've had ugly, horrible conversations with people that you love? What if you'd said, hey, I don't understand, but I want to because I love you. Talk to me. For those of you in relationships with males and females, this works brilliantly, but guys, let the girl do the talking first. Got it? Let the girl do the talking first. Everybody stand up. Number 3 is results and responsibilities. Quick with the person across the table from you or behind you. It goes like this. So it's a scissors, paper, rock, but everybody's going to be the rock 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Take a seat. In a personal relationship, do you need to have a win-win or no deal? If you love this person, when can that conversation come to an end? Only when there's a win-win. There cannot be a win-lose. If you allow that person to win and you feel like you've lost, how long will you be there for? If you're continually losing. And when I'll put that in a different terminology, if you're continually negotiating your core values or what's important to you, If you continue to do that in a relationship, how long will it be before that relationship's over? You might not even end it, but the relationship will be over because you're negotiating your non-negotiables. And just quickly as a side note, do you all have your list of non-negotiables in a personal relationship? You'd have that in a career, wouldn't you? If you went to work in somebody else's business, wouldn't you have a list of non-negotiables that you wouldn't put up with? In a personal relationship, wouldn't you have that too? You know what I've heard people say to me? Oh, no, but you've got to compromise in relationships. Really? So you'd go out with a smoker, would you? There's just one of them, because one of my non-negotiables is I wouldn't have a relationship with a smoker. If you negotiate that and you have a relationship with a smoker, what's going to happen every time they have a cigarette? What if your non-negotiable is I won't have a relationship with a criminal, and then that person goes and robs houses at night time? It's a good list to have, isn't it? I won't have a relationship with a criminal. I don't want them to be a child molester. I don't, have a list. What will you put up with and what will you not put up with in a relationship? My sister's been in a relationship with a guy for a really long time. He sent her to the football last year. She barracks for St Kilda, AFL. He went to the member stand with the boys and he bought her a ticket in the little stand with the... It's a non-negotiable for me. He said, we'll meet you for dinner afterwards, and then he never showed up. I hope she watches this. It's a non-negotiable, isn't it? However, now I'm going to hit you really, really hard. Who's got to take responsibility for the result of the relationship? You do. If somebody's treating you badly in a relationship, whose fault is that? It's not theirs. Because if you want them to change, that's not fair. You can't change other people. You chose to be in that relationship. You have to accept that. That's your responsibility. So you either accept it, negotiate your non-negotiable, or you leave. But you can't blame the other person, can you? Because that would be silly. That would just be silly. What's this one? Yum, 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 yum. And all feedback is what? Number 5 is leaving a profit and never give up. All right, we're going to go very quickly now into some really cool tools for people that you aren't in a personal relationship with. Because are there some people in your life that just pop along and you think, oh, what an idiot? Those of you in business, however, you have to be really good at what I'm about to share with you. And I'll give you an example. In New Zealand, was there a company called Mrs. Fields Cookies? Does anybody know that company? It was a very large American company. She ended up going broke and then getting taken over by a multinational. What she started off as a small shop in a small town making really yummy cookies. They're soft. They're not biscuits. They don't break. When you break them, they're really moist and crumbly. Anyway, when you've got a small business, I'll ask that question. When you've got a small business, can you please all the people all the time? No. Even in a small business, you can't please all the people all the time. But in a small business, let's say you've got 9 happy customers and 1 unhappy one. Could you possibly put up with the 1 unhappy one? You might try and please them, but somebody says to you, I don't like chocolate chip cookies, and that's what your shop makes, just chocolate chip cookies. You'd put up with that, wouldn't you? If you then grow into a franchise and you've got 10, so there's 100 people that like you, and how many now don't like you? 10. You've got 10 people that don't like what you're doing. Now, who complains? The people that love you or the people that don't love you? The people that don't love you are usually the ones that complain. So now you've got 10 people calling you all the time saying, I don't like chocolate chip cookies, I don't like chocolate chip cookies. Let's say you grow to 1,000 franchise and now you've got 100 people calling you every day and saying, I don't like chocolate chip cookies. What if you had 10,000 people calling you or emailing you every day and saying, I hate your chocolate chip cookies? All feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. But see, what happens with feedback, it's just a numbers game. When you're small, you get small amounts of feedback. When you get larger, you'll get larger amounts of feedback. What I'm asking you to do is get really good at handling it now, because when you're really successful and you've got 1,000 clients and 10,000 clients, I'll just quickly share that the guys are getting involved with vision. Somebody's made a website, Why Vision Sucks. Somebody's created a website that you can go to say why they hate vision. That's awesome. Because all feedback is what? A special gift, regardless of how it's wrapped. But see, you could focus on the ugly stuff, or you could learn and grow from it. And what I'm asking you to do is learn and grow from it. So you've got to get good at handling the little ones now. I hate that green tie, Stuart. That's so ugly. That's because it's that silly feedback. But if you get good at handling all feedback, when you get an ugly one, what will you be able to do? Thank you for the feedback. Really appreciate that. Now, here's the first thing I want you to do. It's a physical act, because you've got to get good at it. As the feedback comes in at you, it's going to come in at your heart. I want you to grab it before it reaches your heart, take it out here and hoik it. Do it for me. Catch it, catch as mitt, bring it into your heart. Before it touches your heart, you're going to grab hold of it and hoik it, because it's not at you. Even if it's personally attacking you as a person, what kind of person attacks you? Are they delightful people that attack you? What kind of people attack you? Really not very nice ones. So as that information comes in at you and it's not very nice information, you've got to be physically able to say, this is coming from an unfriendly source, this is coming from not a very nice source, I don't need to take that on board. What I'll do is I'll take it here and hoik it. That's the personal part of it, yeah? Now, if it's out there, there's one of two things you can do with it. You can have a look at it and say, yeah, that's good, I'll take that on board, I can learn from that, or you can just leave it hoiked. But at least it's out there, not affecting your heart. In business, however, right now, those of you that have got clients, what I don't want you to do is answer the phone. You're far too busy to be answering the phone, aren't you, Sal? Yeah. Absolutely. Your message bank needs to say something like this. Thank you so much for calling XYZ Personal Training. I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you. Please leave the reason for your call. How's it go? Please leave the reason for your call and your telephone number 2 times clearly and slowly so I can give you a call back. From an etiquette point of view, you guys know this already, you would never call anybody and just say, hey, this is Mickey, call me back, would you? Especially not if your name's Mickey. That's rude. To leave that message on somebody's phone is rude, because now they've... What have they got to go on? If you call me and say, hi, Rowie, it's Mickey, call me back, I've got nothing to go on. He might be in a car accident. He might have had a fight with his wife. Who knows? He might have a sore foot. What was it today? What? He ate a custard biscuit and nearly choked on it.
3% of Britons have actually the custard creams. 3% apparently have been known to poke themselves in their eye with a custard cream.
See? Mickey's got superb etiquette. So when he sends me an email or calls me, he says, I've nearly killed myself with the custard cream. But if it rung and said, this is Mickey, call me back, I've got nothing to go on. So good etiquette is always, when you leave a message or you send an email, it's to put the reason on there. When you've got a voicemail message, always say that. Please leave the reason for your call. Now, this is where it gets really exciting. If somebody's going to have a whinge, and if you've got 10 clients, there's going to be at least one that's going to have a whinge, yes? This is good, because all feedback is a special gift, yes? If they get to whinge on your voicemail, which they'll want to, by the way, because it's much easier than talking to you on the phone, this is good, yes? Now, before you call them back, you'll listen. You might get really angry and think it's really stupid feedback. But you've got an opportunity to do that when nobody's watching. When is the only time that you would call that person back? When you are cool, calm and collected, logical, and you've come up with some solutions, yeah? That's easy. That's why you have that on your message bank. You never ever want to handle an incoming customer complaint unprepared. Now, as you grow, however, you will have to answer the phone. And they may come in like that. So one of the options that you have is what a lot of companies do, and they have a customer care hotline, like a customer service hotline, so that if you want to have a whinge, you go directly to that line. And as you know, here at Max, we do this, and I love it, because if you've got a challenge with a person, and you email me and you say, oh, I don't like Mickey, he's an arse, and you email that to me, what will I send you back on an email? But I won't email you, I'll call you. What do you think I'm going to say to you? You're an international fitness professional who's got a challenge with another person. You've got to get really good at delivering feedback. So who do you think you need to call? Mickey. That's what you'll get from me, okay? Because if you want to be an international fitness professional, you have to get good at giving feedback. So if you've got a challenge with a person, you have to go to the person. If you've got a challenge with a thing, I want to hear about it. I want to hear about every single tiny little weeny thing challenge that you've got. Because when you've got your own business, you want people talking to you, not to the 10 people at the pub, about what they've got a challenge with. So that's why customer care hotline's really good. If you're going to take a call that's coming in, because now you're really busy and you have to answer the phone, which could now be Julie, because she can't not answer the phone rings, you need to answer the phone. Here's the system. Are you ready? It's awesome. Whether it's face-to-face or on the phone, it goes like this. Thank you for the feedback. How's it go?
Thank you for the feedback.
Because why are you thankful? All feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. Now, do you like to get special gifts? We all love getting special gifts, don't we? Santa's coming with a whole bunch of them real soon. We love getting special gifts. So if you say that, you're now feeding that information into your brain. Thank you for the feedback, because all feedback's a special gift. Yeah? Tell me all about it. So first one is, thank you for the feedback. Next one is, tell me all about it. Tell me all about it. Tell me all about it. And it can't be all right. Tell me all about it. Really? Thank you. Tell me all about it. When you think they've finished talking, you're going to say this. Is there anything else? Guess what? Most people find something. That's good, yes? Because who do you want them talking to? You or the 10 people at the pub?
You.
At least 3, is there anything else's? At least 3. And even if they say, no, there's not anything else, you're still going to say, are you sure? I've got you on the phone. This is a great opportunity for me. If you've got any challenges at all, we can sort them out straight away. Is there anything else? So you're really pushing for anything else. And then something will come out like, yes, I don't like those green tyres. Which is a silly feedback, but they're getting it off their chest. Yeah? So what's the first one? Thank you for the feedback. Tell me all about it. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Are you sure? Very good. Are you sure? There's not anything else. I would then say again, thank you for the feedback. The fact that you've talked to me and shared this all with me, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, because it's tough giving feedback. So thank you again for the feedback. So how's it go? Thank you. Tell me all about it. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Are you sure there's not anything else? Thank you for sharing all of that with me. Thank you for the feedback. Now, there's 2 here, really cool ones. You ready? If you were me, or if this was your business. So what are they? If you were me, or this was your business, how would we fix this for you? If you were me, or this was your business, how would you handle this? What would be your solution? Now, why do we want to get people into solution mode versus whinge mode? Solution is logical or emotional? Logical. So what do I want to do with people if they're emotional? Pull them into logic. So if you were me, or this was your business, what would you do to fix this for you? Now, you ready? This is really exciting for those of you that are a bit scared about doing this for the first time. 9 out of 10 times, and this is the exact number, because the number I got was from Woolworths Australia, which is from the training manager who's a friend of mine, because they get thousands of calls every day. 9 out of 10 times, guess what people say after you say, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Are you sure there's not anything else? Guess what they say? And you say, how would we fix this for you? Guess what they say? Oh no, I just need to have a whinge. 9 times out of 10, 90 out of 100, 900 out of 1,000, guess what people say? No, I just needed to have a whinge. Isn't that exciting? No, I don't need you to fix it. I just needed to have a whinge. Guys, you would understand that. That's what a woman will say to you often at the end of, tell me more, is there anything else? Now, how do you want me to fix it for you? Guess what she's going to say? No, I need you to fix it. I just needed you to have a listen. Yes or no? I just needed you to have a listen. And that's exactly, and isn't that great? Because who needs to be doing the listening? You or the 10 people at the pub? You. Now they've had this great opportunity. Are you sure that we can't fix this for you? And they say, no, I feel great now. I've got it off my chest. What you are going to do, though, is now write them a handwritten note to say, thank you so much for the feedback. pop something nice in that little envelope. Lollipops, great. Thank you so much for the feedback. Follow up, follow up, follow up, because now you've turned a really ordinary experience into a wow one. Now, this is a really interesting question. How many of you, A, would ever make a complaint to a business about poor service, or you have called and said? How many of you have had it handled brilliantly that when you've got off the phone, everybody stand up, you've had the phone in your hand and you've gone, wow, I cannot believe how well they handled that. Say it again. Wow, I cannot believe how well they handled that. Another one, go, wow, I cannot believe how well they handled that. Awesome, have a seat. Who's had that? When you got off the phone and you've said, wow. Mickey? Explain.
Hotels, when we were travelling over here, there's a few times that I wasn't happy with what happened. Solved the problem, put us in a bigger room. Everyone was rosy, you know, flowers on the pillow, job done. Expect we can book the next one.
So what I'm going to share with you here is you've all been in a situation where you've wanted to give feedback, haven't you? Why didn't you? You big wusses. One of the reasons is you don't want to sound like a whinger. What is the only reason that you'll sound like a whinger? If you sound like a whinger. We've got this awful, horrible room and we really hate it. Why did you put us in this room? What do you thought the person on the other end is going to say? But if you're delightful, like Mickey, I'm going to use the word delightful. I would like to just share with you that there's some pubic hair in our bed and it's curly. See, it's all about how you deal, and difficult is when you're in a situation, and I'll rephrase the question. If it was your business and there was pubic hair in the bed, would you like to know about it? Sure. So there's two parts to giving feedback. What's the first bit? And you don't blame or justify. You'll only be good at giving feedback, A, if you practice, but you have to be knowing that you don't sook, blame and justify anymore. So take every opportunity to not whinge, to give feedback. And what usually happens when you give feedback? A great organisation will fix it. You'll get off the phone and you'll go, wow, that was amazing. If they're really poor at fixing it, guess what you just learnt? What not to do in your business. And how else would you learn that? You have to find out how different businesses deal with customer complaints. I'll give you a classic. Steve Barry, director of Max, was in a hotel at Coolum on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. It was a bank or real estate conference, and they had a really big party. He was there with his family, and these people partied till very late in the evening, I think several nights in a row. And I'll let him tell you the story when you see him. It's amazing. Anyway, so they rang the company, because it was a conference, and they rang the company and said, look, you know, one night we get, but 2 nights, 3 nights, and we're here with our family, you know, could you do something about it? I think it was a $5,000 holiday voucher they sent him to apologise. We went to Fiji or something on holidays. That's a nice wow, isn't it? Came out and I did it once at a very large hotel in Melbourne, and we received 2 upgrade vouchers. We were treated extremely poorly, and the upgrade voucher said if you spend $1,000 on a night in our hotel, we'll give you a $200 upgrade or something. Not a wow experience. Not a wow. So, phone call comes in, person's in front of you. What do you say? Thank you for your feedback. Tell me all about it. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Are you sure that there's nothing else? If you were me or this was your business, what would you do to fix this situation? 9 times out of 10, what are they going to say?
Oh,
just having a whinge. Now, there will be, unfortunately or fortunately, 10 out of your 100 that will give you solutions to the challenge. Isn't that good? Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you what you should be doing in your business. Now, this is fantastic. Because if somebody walks away from you and they go, oh, I told them, oh, I just fixed them, I sorted them right out. It's a win-win. You might not see this just yet, but it's a real win-win. Because first of all, how do they feel? They feel good. So they've had the win, yeah? They feel great. But have you got some great feedback?
Yeah.
Because all feedback is a special gift regardless of how it's wrapped. Now, even if it was stupid feedback, you had the opportunity to practice your receiving feedback skills. So it was brilliant, yeah? So there's a win-win. Great. So they walk away feeling great. Now, if it's a logical person, and the best kind of people for this are C-styles, they're really good. They've got a list. And they say, well, as a matter of fact, I have got 11 solutions for your challenge at your business, and here they are. Guess what you're going to do? Grab a pen. Because this person's seen stuff that you've never seen in your business. They've got the best solutions ever. And you're going to listen and listen and listen. And as they're talking, you're going to say, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Are you sure there's not anything else? And our beautiful C personalities are going to say, no, there's only 11. I told you there was 11. There's only 11. Yes or no? Isn't that awesome? Now, the last group are the really interesting ones, because they're the ones that say, no, got no solutions, you're just stupid. And they hang up. Exactly right. Now, what do you do there? I'm going to go back to our circle. What do you do now? What does that stand for? They hung up in your ear. Have we got a win-win or no deal? No. Now, if you don't have any details for this person, we've got a lose situation. You really can't follow up because you've got absolutely no way of following them up, unless you've got one of those phones that you can call them back on that number. And I wouldn't call them back straight away. Give it some time, because they've just told you, I don't want to talk about this right now. However, it would be really nice, 24 hours later, hi, it's Rowie, I'm just calling to say I apologise. You ready for this? It's really important. I apologise for the way you feel. What did you apologise for? You didn't apologise for what you did. You didn't apologise for the way you made them feel. What did you apologise for? I'm sorry for the way you feel. And it's not sarcastic. Can you imagine this? I'm sorry for the way you feel. Can you see why tonality is so important? Words are really irrelevant when you add tonality. I'm really sorry for the way you feel. I'm so sorry for the way you feel. Because are you? You bloody should be. If somebody's hung up in your ear, you haven't left a profit with them. Now remember, this is really important. This is 1 out of 10. And we'll do it out of 100. You've got 90 people that will say, no, just wanted to have a whinge. 9 people will say, yes, I've got some excellent solutions for you. Or yes, I'll bloody tell you what you should be doing in your business, which is good because you'll still get some feedback. But there'll be that one person that hangs up. So it's not a large number of people. But interestingly, when I talk to people that handle customer complaints, they always remember the ugly ones. Because guess what they didn't do? Why are angry people angry? Because they're angry people. Some people are just angry. That person that you went through that whole thing with, I thank you for your feedback. Talk to me. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Are you sure there isn't anything else? If you did that in a logical way and they still hang up in your ear, they're just an angry person. But you still want to have the last, when I say the last say, you still want to be able to leave a profit. Because you want them to be able to say in the future, if anybody ever asks, even if they lie, they will still know that you did your absolute best to sort the situation. Which means 24 hours later, it's Rowie calling. Oh, what do you want? I just want to apologise for the way you feel. I'm so sorry that you feel this way. And you may now have an opportunity to open it back up again and say, now that, you know, it's a day later, would you like to continue giving me some feedback? Is there anything else I can help you with? Isn't this good stuff? Who wants to go out and practice? Who wants to find a grumpy person to practice on? I had a great opportunity to do this with my friend Timothy Bean, who I've told you about. He was my personal training client. And as he was making his way up through the ranks at Woolworths, he said to me one day, because we were talking about customer complaints, and I think I must have said to him that we'd had some grumpy members at the health club or something. And he said, oh, you want to hear grumpy? Come and hang on our customer care line for a day and see what people whinge and moan and complain about. And literally the phone doesn't stop and they bank up. So there's just the one line and there's a bank of they're not marketers, they're tele-handle grumpy people, but there's a bank of them. It's a very large company, and they just keep pouring in. And they handle it exactly that way, but there's a tick box system. So you have to tick, was it a person who said, no, I just wanted to have a whinge? Was it a person that had a solution? Did you provide the solution, or was it a hang-up person? That's why I know it's 9 out of 10. Qantas is another one. I used to go with the Qantas guy, and it's exactly the same. People just complain all the time. They just keep pouring in. Now, here's a great question. If you want to have a really big company, Abraham, what's going to happen if you can't handle customer complaints? What's going to happen? Guess what happened to Mrs. Fields? Talking to the girls now, it went broke. She went broke, got taken over by a multinational company because she took it personally. Every time somebody complained about her cookies, she took it into her heart. This is going to sound really tough, but it's feedback. You ready, ladies? The reason why women are not successful as men in business is we don't handle feedback. If a man gets feedback, what does he do? Well, we know that because if two guys are fighting on the football field, what are they doing half an hour later after the footy game's over? They're having a drink together. You know this. If two girls punch each other up on a sporting field, what's happening now? How long before they talk to each other? Never. That's called emotion. Now, I'm not asking you to live in third place. What I'm asking you, because it's very important to be in second place, which is aware of other people's feelings. And that's why, if when you're in first place and that person hangs up on you, what do you want to say? Like, you've been through the whole process of trying to help them and they hang up in your ear. What do you want to say if you're in first place? Bloody idiot. And forget about it. But if you are self-motivated to create a win-win or no-deal situation, you now have the education, you've got the discipline, what will you do 12 hours, 24 hours later? You'll ring them back. And what will it say? Will it say more about the other person or more about you? So it will say way more about you. Now, last couple of points just to finish up the evening because they're really good fun. How many of you have ever received an ugly email? Like a really nasty one? Did you know that it was a nasty one? How did you really know that it was a nasty one? Because it had swear words in it.
Like personal comments.
Mm-hmm. If you receive an email, this is really important. When you read that email, which emotion are you reading it in? You're reading it in the current emotion that you're in right now. So if you're happy and you read an email, what will you read into that email predominantly? You look at it positively or negatively? You look at it positively. Oh, that's funny. I get an email from Mickey who says, Rowie, you've got a fat ass, and I'm in a happy mood. Oh, that's funny. It's really funny. If I'm not having a good day and somebody sends me an email that says you've got a fat ass, what happens now? Yes or no? Now, this is why we spend so much time in communication. Words are what percentage of communication? 7%. What's an email? Only words. Even if somebody puts a smiley face at the end of the sentence or puts two little kisses at the end of the sentence, what is an email? Only words. Now, I'll give you I'm just going to use the shortest syllable word that I know. And we'll see how we go with what can happen with a word. Now, the word no, N-O, no, is a word, no, yeah? You're about to go to bed and your partner says, would you like to have sex tonight? And you say, no. Or you say, no. Exactly the same word, yes or no? Exactly the same word. What does the first one mean? No. What does the second one mean? Yes. That's why email is such a dangerous form of communication. It's dangerous. So all I'm asking you to do when you receive an email, any kind of email, doesn't matter what, even if you're really happy and you still read it as an ugly email, if you are affected emotionally by that email, one of the great things to do is reply. Get it all off your chest. And then leave it sit for at least overnight. Do not press send. If you have to get it off your chest, by all means, reply to the email so that you can remove that emotion, because you'll probably feel better afterwards. But a self-disciplined person will say what? If you're really self-disciplined, you get a nasty email, what are you going to say? Wow, this is good feedback. I'm not ready for this right now. I'll come back and read this at another time. Yeah? But if you can't do that, reply. Don't press send. Read it again in the morning. What do you think might happen? I think you might edit it a little bit. Who's wished that they'd edited an email before? Who's wished that they let it sit for 12 hours? Because once you press send, guess what? It's gone. It's finished. So let it sit. Better advice still is to get somebody else who's not personally involved in that relationship to read it before you send it. Get someone to have a read and say, look, if you just read this and tell me what you think. Don't give them any information. Just say, read this, and they might go, ooh. What you want them to say is, that's a logical way to handle that situation. Well done. Then possibly press send. Do you have to reply to every nasty email? Kerry's got a good way. K-Man does it beautifully. He just types, hello, you're right. Happy smiley day, love K-Man. How's it go? You're right. Now, do you think that K-Man's the kind of guy that would let somebody walk all over him? No. But what was the quote before? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. If you're not prepared to waste your time, because that's called, I don't care about that person, why would I waste my time? Because sometimes we spend a lot of time with people that add no value to our lives, yeah? You might be a little bit more caring than that. You might say, thank you for your feedback, you're right, love Rowie.
Can you say it again? That little phrase that a man...
Convinced against his will? So he's convinced. You've proved that he's wrong. I'll ask the ladies this question. If you prove that a guy's wrong, is he happy or angry? You've proved that he's wrong. Is he happy or angry? Angry. So if you want a win-win, if you're a really strong person, the win is that the other person walks away feeling good about themselves. You still feel great because you love who you are. That's a very powerful email. Somebody sends you some rubbish and you say, Dear John, thank you for the feedback. You're right. Warmest regards, Rowie. And then you can walk away from that situation saying, I had the education, the motivation, the discipline not to get affected by somebody that was trying to press my buttons. I think we used this example in self-esteem for those guys that were here. If somebody comes, because we've all got buttons, haven't we? Some of us are about to find them because Christmas Day is coming up. You haven't seen some folks for 12 months, and they're the folks that press your buttons. Wouldn't it be great to walk into any conversation? You've all got buttons, we've all got buttons, and some people just know where to press, don't they? And you go, A really self-disciplined person disconnects the wires from the central nervous system. So even though people come and press the button, guess what happens? Botox. Cool, calm and collected. And you've all seen this reaction. Somebody's trying to push your buttons and you don't react. What happens? Why can't you just get angry? I'm going to swear because I've seen this happen before. Oh, fuck you then. And they walk out. Yes or no? Now, who's the mature person in that particular conversation? The person who walked out the door and swore, or the person that went, you're right. And I will have to use K-Mans again because it's really cool. You're a dickhead, K-Man. You're probably right. That's it. You're probably right. Because why would you enter into... What kind of person enters into that conversation? Remember I shared with you? All conversations say more about you than the other person. Every time you open your mouth to speak, it says more about you than the other person. So why would you enter into such a silly conversation? To finish up tonight, I want you to think about the person that you have the most toxic effect with. The person that can press your buttons. The last person or the person that you've had a yelling argument with. There's a couple of things I'd like you to think about. The last yelling conversation that you had with them, what would have happened if you had the self-discipline to say, I don't understand, but I really want to because I love you, so talk to me, tell me what's going on. What if it hadn't got that far and you had the self-discipline to say, this is not the right time right now? Go for a walk, do some exercise. What happens, because when you're emotional, where are your serotonin levels in your brain? Even or uneven? Uneven. When you exercise, what happens to the serotonin levels in your brain? So now you're back to logic. So if you think you're going to have an argument with somebody, go for a run. Jump on the bike, grab a skipping rope. Say, look, I just need 3.5 minutes of skipping and I'll be right back. You'll probably laugh and they'll probably laugh. And isn't it interesting that when you laugh, what happens to the serotonin levels in your brain? They even out as well. Those of you that are looking forward to a magical, super amazing Christmas with your family, I wish you a super amazing day. Some of you, some of us, won't have that kind of a day. Some of you are going to have an awesome opportunity to practice your new skills on dealing with difficult people. But at the end of the day, end of any day, but particularly Christmas Day, you want to have a win-win or no deal. Make this the year that if you normally have a toxic Christmas, this is a year that you walk away knowing that everybody feels better. You left a profit on your family and your friends at Christmas. Thanks for an awesome evening.